It's an interesting method.
Yes. And how about when you talk to me about Suggestiopedia, it sounds so interesting.
Okay, you can take this slide off and we'll talk about Suggestopedia.
Okay.
Okay, Suggestopedia is very new age. It's very, very different. We talked about the affective filter, which the community language learning is lowering, and communicative approach lowers the affective filter by playing games. Suggestopedia is just about lowering that affective filter. That's the main focus of Suggestopedia. So the idea is that the students come to you and they're too nervous to speak, and you as the teacher, that's your job, is to get them to lower the affective filter, but the students have all this idea in their head about what language learning should be and what they should sound like, and it's bogging them down, so you need to de-suggest it. That's what that means. So my school has recently gone whole hog into mindfulness training. So this has been really good for me because we've been doing it a little bit in my classes whenever I sprinkle in Suggestopedia. First of all, you teach your students how to breathe, okay? And then you teach your students how to visualize. So this is all the stuff that every woman knows who's ever been through a pregnancy class, okay? You just have your students breathe slowly and visualize some pretty place. And I always do it where they're visualizing some place associated with the language I'm teaching. So if I'm teaching Japanese, they're visualizing some beautiful koi pond with the giant rocks in the middle of it symbolizing mountains and the big colorful koi. And if I'm doing I don't know, if I'm doing Spanish, I'll have them visualize someplace out in the desert in Nogales where I used to go. Or, you know, if it's French, I'll have them visualize some beautiful, immaculate French garden or whatever, but visualize someplace. Get them to breathe slowly, kind of very meditative, okay? Then you put on classical music. Now, when I'm teaching Japanese, I'm thinking to myself, I don't want them listening to Verdi while I'm teaching Japanese. So I always do some kind of very specific Japanese slow music, maybe a koto music, maybe something really symphonic from one of my favorite movies or something. But, you know, for French, I'll put on some French music. For Spanish, I'll put on some Spanish music, but very, very slow. And then you read them the story or the script very slow and very calm. And then you put on faster music. And then you read them the script again, really hammy and over the top, just like for the direct method, which is super fun. Then you get the students up and you ask them easy yes, no questions, first of all, and then you have them mingle like they're at a party because that's more fun. Lots and lots of role play again, have them choose fake personas. And then when they're really comfortable with the script, you give them props. You give them costumes and you have them act it out, but you really encourage them to be silly and over the top. That's Suggestopedia. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was the encyclopedia of suggestion.
Yeah. When I first saw the word Suggestopedia, I was like, what is this? It's different.
Okay. All right, so let's move into the silent way. I have a slide here. And there it goes. Okay.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll have you take down the slide in a minute so I can show some more props for this. This one is a very, very, very different method. The tenet of the silent way is that language is not merely mimicry. It's not even for communication. It's for self-expression.
Okay.
So because it's self-expression, there's a lot of times in language classes you're having the students say things like, I eat bananas, I wake up at 5, and maybe the students don't eat bananas and they don't wake up at 5, but you've had them learn those sentences. Not in the silent way, because you want the students to be speaking truth about themselves.
I like that.
The students are in charge. The teacher is really just a facilitator. The learners are responsible for their own learning. They're going to have to test and retest hypotheses. They've got to have a really positive can-do attitude. So you might wonder, like, how much language can be taught with the silent way if the teacher's being mostly silent? The teacher doesn't have to be completely silent, but usually the teacher's pretty darn silent. It's surprising there's a lot of language you can teach because the students are forced to say things and listen to themselves as they say things. You'll notice that this chart has a lot of different colors on it. And you do have to, there is a bit of a money outlay to buy these charts because they're all color coded and each sound is correlated with a different color. So I'll take it down and I'll show some other things.
Do you want me to stop sharing this?
Yeah, stop sharing it and come back to camera. Okay, so the gentleman who developed this actually started with something called Cuisinaire Rods, which is a math manipulative. He found them in a math class, and they were these colored rods. And mine just fell apart. There we go. So I'm a poor teacher, and I don't have the money to buy Cuisinaire rods. So I use these other math manipulatives that I put together. But, you know, they're all different lengths, and each color represents a different sound. So you get your students correlating the colors to the sounds, and eventually the teacher can just hold up the rods, can point to the poster, and have the students making these utterances. So it's a very, very different method. It takes a lot of training, more training than I have, but I do dabble in it. So it's interesting. They're all interesting methods.
They are. I think we got to the last one, right?
Yep, last one. Okay.
So the organic world language.
Yes, this is organic world language, which is often abbreviated OWL, which is a nice little tie-in.
Yes.
So organic world language, again, is based on lowering the effective filter, but more important, the silent period of students. If you're not careful, that can stretch out a really long time. Some people take 6 months before they can say anything. And my colleague, Senor Lawrence, is fond of saying, I only have 180 instructional hours a year. So as teachers, we try as quickly as possible to get past that silent period when the students don't want to talk. So in the organic world language, the first thing you see is you walk into the classroom, there's no furniture whatsoever. The idea is that a desk is a barrier to conversation. It gets in between two people speaking. All the students stand in a circle, just like community language learning. They're all standing in a circle, and there's a lot of sentence frames, a lot of turn and talk, a lot of questioning of each other. The teacher is really just a facilitator again, just like in the silent method. The teacher facilitates and usually chooses a student leader. The student leader has had time beforehand to think about what they want to do. So it's not sprung on them or anything, but the student leaders really step up. No activity should take more than 10 minutes in organic world language. So there's a lot of brain breaks where, like, little fun games where you've been talking in the target language exclusively and you just need a brain break. Okay, so here's a hand clapping game or a ball bouncing game, something that makes both hemispheres of the brain fire at the same time. But there's a lot of celebration when students answer correctly, and it's pretty fun and pretty active the entire time, and students are standing and on their feet the entire time.
Why is it called word? What does the word?
Organic world language, OWL, just like Duo.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
but it's not connected to Duolingo, so don't get confused if you hear somebody say it.
I know. Well, we already did one.
So what I'd like to do, because we went through these really super quickly, I'd like to open the conversation up to the Duolingo Educators Forum. When you do Duolingo, there's that little bar at the top and there's little word balloons at the top. So anyone who wants more information about these methods or has questions, or especially if they're an expert on any of these methods, I invite them to go to the Duolingo Educators Forum and put a post up about it, and we'll get the discussion. We'll get more people talking. One of the things I have absolutely loved the most about Duolingo is that you have given me a way to connect with other educators around the world. I was I'm working on a project with Linda Kaga and another Duolingo educator named Muriel, and we were just working on something and emailing back and forth and chatting on Slack, and it suddenly occurred to me, oh, I'm collaborating with people around the world. They're halfway around the world. How cool
is that? I know, isn't it cool? It's pretty awesome.
It's amazing. And Mr. Mitchell and I have a good conversation going right now, and Kathy Schock and all of us on the Educators Forum. So yeah, I'd like to bring this to get more people involved. So So please post on the Duolingo Educators Forum. And for those of you who are on the Slack channel, please post on the Slack channel. And I look forward to learning more from all of you and continuing the conversation.
Well, you just stole my last line, because I was thinking of like telling people these conversations are going on in Slack, in the Educators Network.
Yeah.
So, well, you said it. That's great.
Well, you've given us a great platform. Yeah.
And
I'm
that's
so
why we have
energized.
it. We're trying to make it better.
Yep.
Yes. Well, thanks so much, Pam. Like, let's stay here talking.
Sure.
But like, I think like the teachers already have like a good like paraphrases of like the 10 different methods. That's pretty awesome. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here.